Hello and welcome to the Dinosaw for week 52. So another 7 curious interesting things I saw last week. So let's crack on. First one is VW and their augmented reality heads-up display update for their ID3 and ID4 electric vehicles. So this shows you things like lane departure warnings, directions, destinations, and if you have adaptive cruise control, how far you are to the car in front and those sorts of things. So this has been activated during the week, so I think you have to go into the dealer to get this done. However, you should now have this goodness if you have one of those cars. So you'll notice the thing down at the bottom anyway was the previous head-up display, so it had things like the speed and just general directions, but now it actually has the markings augmented onto the road through vision. So if you have a Tesla, then you won't have this because it hasn't got a head-up display, and also it will only be on the center console. The code is actually in the Tesla, so somebody spotted it, a developer spotted the augmented code. It hasn't been activated yet, but will probably come to the console quite soon. But if you've got a VW, you're ahead of Tesla at this point. Amazon have a patent pending in the US, which also therefore details their future of listening devices. So this is their patent which basically says I want to listen to you all the time. This currently is also working for their Care Hub and their Halo Band. So the Halo Band, if you haven't seen it, is a health monitoring device, a little wristband, and it listens to you all the time. So it can tell what mood you're in, and it adds that to its algorithm, essentially, with other biometrics. So what the Amazon patent is looking to do is activate this feature within all of its devices. Now, obviously, this is clearly why they're doing it, because they're a huge advertising company. They want to know what's going on in your house, but more specifically they want to know the nuance of why you're ordering things. So if you ordered 100 clothes pegs, they want to know whether you're starting a business, starting a laundry, you're using for an art project, or you genuinely just need 100 clothes pegs. It's that sort of thing. So hopefully this will be opt-in. There are huge hurdles to get over before this can actually go ahead. However, we all knew this was coming, and now the groundwork is being placed to put that in place. So Google had an outage during the week, so this lasted for about 4 hours. Very few people escaped it, so probably only people in a time zone where they were probably asleep escaped it. So why did this happen? So this was a general technical update in the back end, and there was some old code that didn't quite speak to the new code in the right way. So the upgrade was really about authentication, and the old code basically wasn't talking well and basically just reported a 0. So the new code thought there was 0 need for authentication and therefore shut itself down. Broadly speaking, that's what happened. So all the authentication didn't happen. So anything that needed authentication and logins didn't work. So that included Gmail, doorbells, those sorts of things, and anything that also went through a Google server. So we saw it affecting YouTube. And also if you had a sort of garage door opener that just so happened to use Google, then that wouldn't open as well. So we saw people actually hit with physical implications of this as well. So their doorbells, security cameras, garage doors didn't open. So Werner Herzog, who's a film director, this is a narrative waiting to happen. This is not new. We are expecting this reliance on technology to bite us at some point, and we saw that in a fairly big 4-hour chunk this week. So Werner Herzog had a really good view on that, and it was a really interesting view that the 3 Bs, you should buy beans, bullets, and bandages for the future. Those will be the important things. I thought that was quite interesting. If you do not know or feel a little bit nervous and a little bit sort of frustrated about when exactly to end your Zoom call, then Brian Moore has the answer for you. You simply reach across and you pull this toilet chain and it ends the call for you, which I think is a really neat way of doing it. So all the files are available on GitHub. Just follow or just Google him, basically, it will be there. But essentially what it uses is a small Arduino board with a built-in Bluetooth capability, and it pretends to be a Bluetooth keyboard. So all it does is, as you pull the chain, it essentially presses a key in a virtual keyboard which you've mapped to Zoom to end the call. So very theatrical, and I really like that. This is a creative agency in the UK called Weirdo, and they took nearly 1,000 LinkedIn profiles for creative directors and executive creative directors and averaged them from their profile pictures. And as you can see, it's a bloke and it's probably white. So that tells you a lot about the UK creative director scene. And the whole point was basically a view on diversity. So fewer than 8% of people in high-ranking creative roles in the UK are from an ethnically diverse and minority group. So it seems to be white men are leading the charge here. So that clearly has to be changed. So this is a really good sort of totem, a really good sort of something to look at and go, yeah, they all look a little bit like Danny Dyer. Having worked in that industry a little bit before then, yeah, that's not inaccurate. So a really good visual representation to essentially push against and kick the shins of. So that's really interesting. I like more of that, please. So DJI have been added to the American Naughty List, or the Entity List as it's called. Now this is the same list that people like Huawei are on. Now why? Pretty obvious as far as if it's on the same list as Huawei, it's a Chinese company, it has servers, it has technology that American companies might be giving to China, although this is almost entirely made in China with Chinese technology. Now that was one part of it. The second part of it was slightly more curious. It was really a human rights stance. So this is the US saying that because these drones are supplied by a Chinese company to the Chinese government to essentially manage and look over their detention camps and prisoners where they suspect human rights abuses are going on. And more curiously, they actually said genetic collection as well. So genetic collection, there was no real justification for that statement, but so what this really means is spare parts might be a little bit tricky. You can still buy them in the US, but they are now on the restricted list. So if you want to do, you're a government agency, for instance, some of them have actually stopped using them because of that until we actually figure out where this is going. So interesting move. And finally, as you can maybe hear just in the background very softly, Blob Opera. So if you haven't found this yet, this is my gift to you, or it's actually David Lee's gifts to you. So he's created this, and it's part of sort of Google Art series. So all you do is you fire this up on your phone or on your computer, and you can essentially drag these little characters up and down to change their tone. And what it'll do is it'll actually take each sort of tone, so you've got a tenor and a baritone, for instance, and it will then generate the music and the singing in the style of an opera singer. So that's using a machine learning and an AI essentially to do that for you. And where this has come from is they've actually trained the algorithm, the machine learning, on opera singers' voices. So it might look cute, and it's clearly using 3D real time, but it's awesome. So definitely have a go at it. You can also send them to other people. So if you haven't sent your Christmas cards yet and you want to send something lovely to somebody else, then maybe head over to the Blob Opera, create your own and send it. I thought this was absolutely glorious, and what a way to end the year. So with that, thank you very much. If Christmas is your thing, have a good one of those. And if not, I will see you next week.